IP address. So IP address is basically it's a 4 octet 4 byte 32-bit decimal number. So 4 octet 4 byte 32-bit decimal number, right? So before going to the IP address, let's understand some thing so that it would be clear to us. If I write a number 040 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So if you see this thing, this is the STD code for Hyderabad, right? And this is the subscriber number. in that also, let's suppose the starting three, these four are the area code, like it belongs to Madhapur. And this is these three, let's belong to Madhapur, and these two belongs to some high-tech city, let's suppose, and this last three is your number. So if you consider these things, you will see that a number are basically combination of two things: STD code and the number, subscriber number. And if you see 040, immediately you will come to know that this is the Hyderabad. And if you see 044, it means Chennai. If you see 011, Delhi, right? So easily you are able to identify with the help of the number, the STD code. In the same way, IP address. In that, you will have the 4 octet, 4 byte, 32-bit decimal number. So the telephone number is divided into two parts: STD code and subscriber. But the IP address, IPv4 IP address are divided into same two parts, but they have the different name. If I write a IP address 10 dot 10 dot 10/24. So this IP address is divided into two parts. The first is called network address, or bits. Second is called host address, or bits. So out of this IP address 10.10.10.10/24, the network address is 10.10.10.10.0/24, and the host address is 10.10.10.10/24. Why it is like that? how to identify the network address, how to calculate the host address, that we'll see later. So point here is this IP address are divided into two. The IPv4 address are divided into two parts. The first is network address, second is host address. If you write this IP address 10.10.10.10/24, if you write this into the bit format, so we can write like this, means there are some criteria to identify what is the network address, what is the host address. So in that, the first criteria is this. Whenever you see this kind of IP address, so the first point is this. This is the sweet spot. You have to see this particular thing, and this tells number of the bits into the network side. Number of bits into network side. And how many bits we have into network side? 24. And if you remember, IP address is 32-bit decimal number. So if 24 bits into the network side, then how many bits into the host side? Number of bits in host side. 32 subtract 24, you will get 8 bits. So whenever we see this IP address, whenever we see such kind of IP address, this tells the number of the bits into the host side, first point. And if we have 24 bits into the network side, then remaining 8 bits will be in the host side. Now, second point. From this IP address, the IP address which we have here, 10.10.10.10/24. How to find out what is the network address and what is the host address? So make all the bit. It means if I have 10.10.10.10/24, make all the bits 1 till 24, means this is 8 bits, 8 bits, again 8 bits, 8 bits, then 8 bits. Total will become 32. I am saying make all the bits 1 till 24. So if you make all the bits 1 here, 1, 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So make all the bits 1 till 24. So if you add these 3, you will get 24. 8 from here, then 8 from here, then 8 from here, 24. Make all these bits 1 and write down as it is. Means what is the actual IP for this? 10.10.10 dot, and make this bit as a 0. So 0/24. This will not get changed. So this is your network address. So identify to network address, the first point is this sweet spot. When you see this thing, it immediately it should come in your mind that number of the bits into the network side is 24. Host side is 8. If 24 bits into the host side means we have total 32 bits. Out of that, 24 bits are into the network side. So 8 bit will be in the host side. So to write down the network address, what we have to do, you have to make all 24 bits 1 and host bit as a 0. So host bit, the host IP address we have .10, it would become 0, and 10.10.10.0/24, this would become the network address, right? And before coming to the host address, let's come here. If I write this thing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm not writing anything here. Will you be able to understand that this is the numeric number or any subscriber number? Not possible to identify. If I write simply this thing, you won't be able to identify it's a numeric number or any subscriber number. You can say the number, numeric number, but you won't be able to understand it's a subscriber number or not. Let's suppose you are able to understand, okay, it's a subscriber number. Then how will you identify that it is the number resides in Hyderabad or somewhere else? Right? It's very tough to identify. That means the STD code plays a very important role when we write down the number, subscriber number. In the same way, network address plays a very important role when we write the host address. So this is the second point, how to identify the network address. Third point is host address. So to write down the host address cannot be written without network address. So it's a similar to STDN, subscriber number. Subscriber number cannot be written without its STD code. So similarly, the host address cannot be written without network address. If it is not possible, so we have to write the network address. Network address is what? 10.10.10/24. So here it would be 0. But if you write 0, it would become network address. But our requirement is to have the host address. So we have to write 10. This is what we have. So this is the host address, and this is the network address. This is the network address and this is the host address. And this tells the number of the bits into the host side. 24 bits into the host side, that means 8 bits into the 24 bits into the network side, that means 8 bits into the network side, because total we have 32. If 24 bits into the network side out of 32, then 8 bits will go into the host side. So if you see any IP address, let's suppose I am seeing the IP address 192.168.10.5/24. So from this, the first point is number of the bits into the network side. So number of the bits into network. So we have to see this thing. This is the sweet spot. 24 bits slash 24 means 24 bits into the network side. And if we have 24 bits into the network side, then number of the bits into the host side, 32 separate 24, 8 bits. Third point, how to identify the host address and network address. So to write down the host address and network address, what we have to do? Network address. The third point is network address. So make all the bits 1. So total 24 bits into the network side. So make all the network bits 1 and host bit as a 0. So we have to make this bit as a 0 and rest all it would be same. So 192.168.10.0/24. This is the network address. Fourth point, the host address cannot be written without network address. It's a similar to the STDN subscriber number. If you write a subscriber number without study code, it won't make any sense. So we have to write host address along with the network address. So host address 192.168.10.5/24. This is our host address, right? So the IP address is 4 octet, 4 bytes, 32-bit decimal number. In that we have two parts. One is network address, another is host address. So if you see any IP address, so we have to identify these things. This slash notation, this is called CIDR. What is the CIDR? We'll come to know later in the class. So we have to understand the CIDR. If you see /24 means 24 bits into the network side and remaining bits will be into the host side. And how to write the network address and how to write the host address? So network address, right, till 24 bits, make it as a 1 and host will become the 0. So this is the way to write down the network address, and the host address cannot be written without network address. So we have to write down the network address, then host address. So this is the way to write down the host address, and this is the way to write down the network address. And this is how we identify that how many bits we have into network side and how many bits we have into the host side. So this is the decimal representation. This is the decimal representation for IP. Let's come to the bit and decimal to binary. If I have the IP address, let's suppose I have the IP address 210.0.0.0 210.10.10.10/8. I want to, this is the decimal representation. I want to write down this IP address into the binary format. So we have to understand the binary conversion. So decimal to binary conversion. So we have the table to the power 0, to the power 1, to the power 2, to the power 3, to the power 4, to the power 5, to the power 6, to the power 7. If you write down this value, it would become 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, then 128. Now, this is all for the first octet. If you want to write 10 to 10, then what we have to do? We have to make that bit 1, so that after addition we'll get the 210, right? So before coming to 210, let's discuss the small thing. If I have the all 0, if I have all 0, so result would come 0. That means all the bits will be 0. If decimal number is 10, then what we need to do? We need to make this bit as a 1, 8, and this bit as a 1. So 8 plus 2, 10, and rest all bit will become the 0. Let's suppose we have 130. So 130 means 128 plus 2. So it means this bit and this bit will 1, and rest all the bit will become 0. So 128 plus 2. 128 plus 2, it would become 130. Similarly, if we have a number 255, if you add all starting from here to here, then result will come 255. That means all the bit will become the 1. Right? Now, if we want to write 210, right? So what we need to do? We need to add values so that it would become 210. So what we need to do? We need to take 128, right? Then 64. If you add 128 plus 64, it would become 172. And then if you add 172, 32, 402. And what is the requirement? We need 10. So we need to add 8 here. We need to add 6. 6 means these two, right? So what we need to do? We need to make this bit 1, this bit 1, this bit 1, this bit 1, and this bit 1, and rest all 0. That means if you want to write 1 to 10, so 1, 1, 1, this 0, 0, 1, 1, 0. This is the 230. And in the same way, if you want to write for 10, right, then this 2 bit will be 1, and rest all bit will become 0. See, in the same way, this 2 bit will be 1, and rest all become 0, and this 2 bit will be 1, and rest all bit will become 0. So the IP address which we are seeing here, that is the decimal notation, and this is the binary notation for IP address. So for our understanding purpose, we always use the decimal notation, because it's easy to understand. If you go for the decimal, if you go for the binary, you can understand, right? It is very tough to remember those things, and it's very tough to convert the IP address, the decimal number, into the binary. Correct? So let's check this IP address once again. 10.10.10.10/24. This is the prefix mask. Now mask. So first of all, we need to understand this guy. If you understand this guy, this tells number of the bits into network is 28, 24. Second is number of bits into host equal to 8. The next point, third is network address. Network address is make all the host bit 0. So if you make all this 0, so 10.10.10.0/24. Network address. Fourth is host address. Host address cannot be written without network address. So what we need to do, we need to host address 10.10.10.10/24. This is what we understood till now. So let's go for the next. If you see this IP address once again, 10.10.10.10/24. I'm saying or make all the bits 1. So if we write down this thing, right? So we have 1, 1, 1, 1, then dot 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 8 times. This is 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then make all the bits 0. Host bit. How many bits we have into network side? 24. So 24, this is 8 bits. 8 bits. 8 bits. So total become 24 bits. Make all the network bit 1 and host bit 0. 0, 0, 0, 0. 4 times 5, 6, 7, 8. And if you convert this thing into the binary, if we have all the bit 1 in the binary, it would come 255. It means this will also come 255, 255 dot 255 dot 255 dot, and this all 0. If you have all 0, then it would become 0. This is the way. This is another way to write down the IP address in the form of subnet. We can also call as a net mask. So mask means, what is the mask? Mask means covered. Mask means covered means 1. Covered, mask means covered means this all covered means all the value will become 1. If all the value 1, then we'll get the 255. Here also, here. And unmasked means uncovered. Uncovered means 0. So this is all 0. So the first way that we have seen, this is the prefix mask, and this is also called CIDR notation. And if you understand the IP address, the first sweet spot is this. This tells the number of the bits into the network side, and rest all will become into the host side. And how to write down the network address? Make all the bit 1 and host bit as a 0. and host bit cannot be written. Host address cannot be written without network address. So this is the way to write down the host address and network address, and this is the CIDR notation. Another way to represent or write down the IP address is net mask or subnet mask. So in that, what we need to do, we need to make all the bit, all network bit 1, then host bit 0. If you make all the network bit 1, so it would become 255 here, 255 here, and 255 here, because 8 plus 8 plus 8 will get 24, and 24 bits we have into the network side, and rest of the bit will go into the host side. So this mask, net mask, mask means covered means 1, unmasked means uncovered. So if you have covered means all the value will become 1. If you have uncovered, unmasked means all the value will become the 0. So there are two ways. The first is the CIDR notation, another is subnet mask or net mask notation to write down the IP address. Clear? Let's go for the next IP class of the IP address. So the class of the IP address are divided into multiple. If you see this thing, the possibility of these bits, it could be all 8 or all 0 or all 1. So if you go with all 0, we'll get 0, and if you go with all 1, it will go to 255. So that means 0 to 255. Total is 256. So the range is 0 to 255 and total is 256. These divided into multiple class of the IP address that we are going to discuss. So class of the IP address, the first is class A, class B, class C, class D, and class E. Class A, the range of the IP address. The range of the IP address is